Live from the Battleborn Broadcast Center, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, here we go on this Wednesday. Cofield and Company. Big show on the way. I say that every day because there's so much going on in the world of sports, in and out of Vegas. We have a new coach with the Vegas Golden Knights. The old coach, the interim coach, went bye-bye yesterday, so we'll get more reaction on that. Jeff Parles is in. He's the company. It's Cofield. We're here at the Battleborn Broadcast Center. As I said, much to hit on. We'll get to big news in the WNBA in a couple of minutes. VGK, a lot of Golden Knight stuff in the middle of the show. Brendan Sorsby, the Cincy to Texas Tech quarterback, to the Jets, to the Dolphins, to the Browns quarterback. We'll see. Supplemental draft if the NFL cooperates. And obviously a lot more on what's going on around the NBA as the offseason's coming up. We got the Summer League on the way. We got some cool giveaways today. So laundry list, too much to tease. I already teased too much. What's going on, Jeff?
It's good to be back. Good to be back. Missed you last week. Of course, it was one of the more busy weeks of the entire sports calendar. But now it's all over, Cofield. There's nothing left. We don't even need to be here for 3 hours, right?
That's the funny thing. There is so much going on. It's crazy. So we wanted to get the WNBA note out there. We have the Aces locally. Aces are coming off a bad loss by 30 to Dallas. They're putting together a pretty decent season, now sitting at 10-4, 44-game regular season in the WNBA. You know, everyone just got their pay raised at least sixfold, at least at a basic level. There's more money coming to the league from TV, and I'm guessing TV asked for more games, so they're going to go from 44 to 50 games next year. Good thing or bad thing?
This is a very quick move, Cofield, because as far into the past as 2024, they were only playing 40. Played 44 last year, played 44 this year, and then going to 50 pretty quickly. Look, I'm sure that the league has done their due diligence on what an extra 4 games would do to injuries, but now you're going to an extra 10 within a 3-year period. I'm just a little bit concerned about what the injury factor could potentially be by going this quickly in a very short period of time from 40 to 50 with only a 2-year stopover to 44. I know a part of it will be that there's going to be a lot more teams in this league by 2031, so you get to see teams more often or keep it as often as they currently do with seeing everyone either 3 or 4 times. But I definitely have concerns about the injury. Again, I'm not a doctor, but seeing how many injuries there are in an NBA season, which we know has too many games, I just don't know what that number is where it's too many games that the injuries are going to skyrocket in the WNBA.
Interesting with the biggest name player in the league, Caitlin Clark, that things have kind of quieted down around all the drama with Stephanie White and yelling on the bench and disagreements. Why? Because they're winning. So last night they went out and they won 113-91, and everyone's playing well right now. Big game for Kelsey Mitchell as she went out and had 27. Clark didn't shoot well, but she had 21 points and 14 rebounds. And they are now 9-5, and she's actually piling up some record numbers again with these 20-point and 10-assist double-doubles. She has the most in WNBA history now. And I think she's I'll get the note in a second. She's got some mark of like the fastest come out of the gates to 250 and 100 assists in a season. So all that stuff about the Discord, and last week, we love Jason Whitlock on the show because we have Steve Kim on and sometimes the Scap Attack, and he was trying to press this whole thing last week that it's time to ask for a trade, time to move on. It's all a work in progress, and the Fever are not stupid. It would have to be really bad between Caitlin Clark and teammates and the coach before they pass on printing money like they are right now.
Seems like she has a pretty good relationship with her teammates, though.
Yeah.
So, like, that part of it is fine. And you know what? Tough love isn't a bad thing, Cofield. Tough love is not a bad thing. And, you know what? We always have to remind ourselves, and there are some people that do a much better job of it than others, of social media is not real life, despite the amount of time that we all manage to spend on there. And, this is a good basketball team. And I'll be honest with you, Cofield, the top 6 in this league, they're all really good. Minnesota is really good. Obviously, the Aces are good despite what happened to them against Dallas their last time out. The Liberty have won 7 in a row, and they're only going to get better as they get healthier. Atlanta, we thought they were going to be good going into this year with the moves they made. They're 9-4. Indiana's 9-5, and then the Wings and the Valkyries. So I guess we can say the top 7 are also 9-5. This is a very, very good parity. I don't want to say parity riddled because it makes it sound negative, but having this amount of parity with your top 7 is pretty darn good. It's going to make for a really good playoffs when we get down the road 30 games from now.
Yeah, she's the fastest player, Caitlin Clark, to 250 points and 100 assists in a single WNBA season, and she did it 3 games faster than the previous record. So
is that good, Cofield?
She's a good player, and she's going to get better when she can learn how to play defense, or they can hide her defensively. She's going to get more responsible with the ball in terms of the turnovers. She'll get even more efficient from three-point territory, but she's come out and basically averaging 20 points and 9 assists a game, and the Fever are, like I said, a hot property, and it was always going to be a work in progress. No one just walks in the league and is awesome right away in any league, and coaches try to break bad habits from young players, and the biggest thing is you need time to make adjustments because she didn't really play last year, so everyone's trying to grow together. The Aces slate is kind of interesting. Doesn't it feel like the Aces have not been at home like hardly at all?
Nope.
Weird, right?
Been a very front-loaded road schedule, which again will make for a little bit better down the road. Of course, tonight they're in Phoenix taking on a Mercury team that has been, I would say, the league's biggest disappointment so far this year. So, and that's even with smoking Vegas in the opener at the one of the few home games at McUltra. But then you got 3 big home games against 3 teams I mentioned in that top 7 of Golden State, New York, and Dallas, who, again, the Wings smoked the Aces earlier in the weekend, also beat them down in Dallas in the previous matchup. So a team that has given Vegas a lot of issues so far this year. And, again, a 3-game homestand. And then, guess what? Caitlin Clark and the Fever are here the day after 4th of July. And then they're here again the following Sunday. So a lot of good home opportunities and home dates here to stack up some wins potentially against better teams in the league in your own building if you're the Aces.
Aces 10-4, and like Jeff said, 3 home games on the way. Listen, Becky Hammond's making adjustments. She hasn't had consistent availability. Jewel Lloyd finally had a good game the other day. Kennedy Carter has been in and out. She can be a force, so adjustments is what it's all about. Speaking of, good job overall by John Tortorella. What do you go, 28-5-1, an amazing record.
Great job.
Took him from the brink of being on the edge or out of the playoffs to the Stanley Cup final, but in the final, botched a couple of things. I still believe that the challenge in Game 2 cost him the game. That sucked. His refusal to keep Aiden Hill active, or at least have a belief in him if you needed him, as Carter Hart was struggling at times. I don't blame the final game on Carter Hart. They just didn't mount enough offense. You get shut out. You can't get the job done. But Torch, yesterday, it was announced he's been relieved of his duties. Technically, there were no duties left because the contract was just through the end
renewal
of the playoffs. So they move on. You agree with the move?
I think this was always the plan, right? He was just.
But do you agree with the move?
Yeah, I do.
Realistically, did they really think that he was going to get into the Stanley Cup final? He gets into the Stanley Cup final, and they walk on him. And I think there's a lot of people around the country who are like, typical Knights. No loyalty.
I don't have a problem with it. I am curious because the hire that was made earlier this afternoon was, for lack of a better phrase, Cofield, it's an internal promotion. Because Ryan Craig comes up from Henderson. Again, Craig was an assistant on this. He was on the coaching staff, the Cup-winning team in 23. So he's been around he's been around the organization since the beginning. He technically is an original Misfit if you go back to him being on the staff a decade ago now. So, Tortorella is such a complicated figure, right? Where he is a good hockey coach. The decades worth of data points that he is a very good hockey coach, but the act wears thin. And I wonder from Vegas's perspective of, all right, this really worked because it was a short period of time. We knew we had an incredibly talented roster, and we just wanted to see, all right, is this roster as good as we thought it was? Because if it is, we might be able to sneak by and make it to the Cup final and win the whole thing. And they're 2 games away from winning it all. I have no problem with it. I just think that there's going to be a lot of heat early on Ryan Craig if this team gets off to a bad start next year, because there will be a lot of people that will say, well, Ryan Craig is not ready to be a head coach in this league, and you should have kept the guy around who you know is a capable coach in this league.
More on the Knights moving on from Tortorella and the bump up of Ryan Craig, as Ryan the hockey guy, Ryan Wallis, over on Fox Sports Las Vegas, is on the way.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, big couple of days for the Vegas Golden Knights. Parles, Cofield, ESPN Las Vegas. Let's get the latest on what happened today and yesterday as a coaching change is made. Ryan, the hockey guy, Ryan Wallis from over on Fox Sports Las Vegas, our sister station and the home of the Golden Knights, is up with us. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Let's get your feelings, first of all, on John Tortorella. I thought it was the right move. I thought he had to go. Did a fine job. Where are you on VGK moving on from Torts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think that, when you listen to Kelly McCrimmon earlier today, the move was made simply to try to get this season moving in the right direction, right? Like, it was about maximizing the potential of this team, finding a way to get them to gain a little bit of traction, to realize their potential. It worked for the most part. Obviously comes up 2 games short in the Stanley Cup final, but the reality is it was always going to be a short-term situation with John Tortorella and the Vegas Golden Knights, as it really did seem like we were destined to get to this point today with Ryan Craig being named the new head coach.
Do you think Tortorella did a good job in the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Torts did what he could, right? Like, this is not a coach that had years and years of experience with this roster. And, you look at the Stanley Cup final for the Golden Knights, I thought that they played really well the first 3 to 4 games of that Stanley Cup final. They had an opportunity in front of them in game number 2 to take a 2-0 series lead. That game gets away from them late. Then there's the challenge that doesn't go their way, and Carolina scores. They win that game. It feels like things shifted a little bit there. But it's not Torts' fault that William Karlsson got injured in Game 5. It's not necessarily on Torts that the power play didn't necessarily find the regularity that it had in the regular season. And, I think Carolina was just the better team. Over the course of 6 games in that Stanley Cup final, they made more plays, that were more impactful plays. They were just better.
If Tortorella switches to Adin Hill, do they get a more inspired effort from everyone else in Game 6?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I don't think that was ever going to be in the cards, right? I think everybody understood that Carter Hart was the guy, certainly because of his relationship with John Tortorella. But, I mean, he played every minute. He was really good against Colorado. He found his form against Anaheim, struggled a bit early against Utah. But, I think for Carter Hart, you'd love the goals against to come down in the Stanley Cup final, like 5 games in a row, allowing 4 goals. Isn't a recipe for success, but I also thought he made a number of really big saves, and his best game was Game 6. So I don't know that you get a different performance or a win if you go to Adin Hill. It was just never going to be in the cards for this team this year.
Ryan, the hockey guy, Ryan Wallis, up on Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas. So Torts out, Ryan Craig in. He gets the bump up. Tell us about Ryan Craig. Tell the audience about Ryan Craig.
Yeah, I mean, he's been with the organization since day one, right? Like, this is a coach that has kind of gone through and done things the right way. Now, finished up as a player and then immediately hired by Kelly McCrimmon to be part of the inaugural coaching staff under Gerard Gallant. So he's been through the Gallant era, through the DeBoer era, and through the Bruce Cassidy era to a certain degree. Wins the Stanley Cup with the Golden Knights in 22-23 as an assistant coach, then takes the head coaching duty in Henderson with the Silver Knights, and year over year, I think got better in Henderson. Certainly they make the playoffs this year. He goes through a couple of playoff rounds in Henderson as the head coach. And, I think when you talk about Ryan Craig, I think the thing that stands out most to me is he's a calm guy, very calm demeanor, but he's incredibly confident, right? I think there's a lot of gaps you can bridge with Ryan Craig because he was around from day one. He knows a lot of these players because he coached them as an assistant, And if you look at the Braden Bowmans of the world, the Caillou Chazes of the world, the Trevor Connollys of the world, Ryan Craig has been around for their development in Henderson as well. I think he's a perfect bridge for what this organization needs moving forward.
So is it safe to say that the style of hockey will stay pretty similar to what we've become accustomed to over the last few seasons?
Yeah, I would think so. I think that this organization, this team, kind of has an idea of how they want to play, right? Like, obviously, it's going to be predicated and really steep in structured defensive hockey. Like, that's what the Golden Knights are known for, while also utilizing and understanding how good they are offensively. So I think you'll probably see elements of what you've known the last couple of years under Bruce Cassidy, but with maybe a little bit more of a modern twist, what you had with John Tortorella, a little bit more north-south, a little bit more focus on playing up the ice and pressuring in different situations. But I don't think you're going to see a systemic change for the Golden Knights going into next season.
Ryan, what do you think the Knights do in net moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree it feels like a changing of the guard, which seems wild in a lot of different cases because of Adin Hill and his success in 2023 in getting this team to a Stanley Cup championship. But it really does feel, based on what you just saw in the Stanley Cup playoffs, it feels like Carter Hart's net, right? Like, I don't know that that's some big outlandish statement. It just seems like he's the guy moving forward. Now, is it going to be Carter Hart and Adin Hill as a tandem? We'll see. Like, that will be kind of an interesting dynamic to navigate next season. But I would imagine that if you're asking me right now on, June 17th going into next season, who's going to be the game one starter for the 84-game season, I guess it's Carter Hart.
Can you justify keeping Adin Hill on the roster if he's only out there for max, 35 games at $6.25 million, or do they have to move him and cut some cost?
So, I think that's a valid question, right? Because obviously when you start to think about the Golden Knights, you've got Rasmus Andersson, who's an unrestricted free agent. You've got Pavel Dorofeev, who's a restricted free agent you've got to come to terms with, all of those different things. So salary cap is finite. You have to make decisions, and you've got to determine what you want your roster to look like. Now, can you justify it? I would say yes, you can, mainly because you look back at this season for the Golden Knights, Adin Hill missed 3 months of the year with an injury. Carter Hart came back and missed 3 months of the year with an injury. You just don't know when it comes to goaltending what you're going to get going into next season. And in that regard, I like the idea more so of having two guys that are known commodities that can get it done, that can be capable of being number ones, just because you don't know what you're going to run into in terms of injuries and all of that going into next season.
Ryan Wallis is with us. We saw Jack Eichel address the, hey, you guys are hated. We saw Kelly McCrimmon address the, hey, you guys are the evil empire. What do you think about what both of them said?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're looking at players in the league, I think that players in the league want to play for Vegas. Like, that's the reality of the situation. Jack Eichel saying that Vegas isn't on many no-trade lists, that's accurate. And I see it that way, too, just from players. Like Dylan Larkin, right, is reportedly asked for a trade out of Detroit and reportedly has Vegas on as one of the 3 or 4 teams that he would be willing to waive his no-move clause to play for. Like, there's a reason why players around the league want to play for this organization. They win. They're unabashed about their desire to go out there and make their team better. And I think a lot of players around the league respect that. I understand why fans are frustrated with Vegas. I understand why fans around the league are tired of the Golden Knights continuing to play deep in the playoffs and challenge for Stanley Cups. But if you ask players around the league, they want to come here, and it's not just because the weather's awesome and they can golf. It's because this team, this organization wants to win.
How do you manage the roster, Ryan? And Ryan Wallis is with us from Fox Sports Las Vegas. How do you manage the roster if you do get a Dylan Larkin? Obviously, someone has to go.
Yeah, I mean, it would depend on the trade package going back the other way, right? And I don't want to get too into the weeds because I don't know that Dylan Larkin is necessarily the fit that you're looking for a Golden Knights team. Like, I think if William Karlsson is healthy going into next season and you can go down the middle of the ice with William Karlsson, Jack Eichel, Tomas Hertl, Nick Dowd. I think you're in a really good spot there. So I don't necessarily think that Larkin's the answer. But I think you've got to look at the roster as it is right now, and it's not so much, in my estimation, looking outward. It's looking inward. It's looking at the Braden Bowmans. It's looking at the Trevor Connollys. It's looking at the Kai Uchazes of the world and trying to determine if you have some young blood in your organization that can come in on entry-level deals and do some damage for you. I think that's how the Golden Knights get better. It's not necessarily from the outside. I think it's from within.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, good spot there with our buddy Ryan the Hockey Guy. He's coming up at 4 o'clock on Fox Sports Las Vegas, 1340 and 94.7 FM. We didn't get to the question, and it's all speculative. What happens next year if VGK gets out, a 30-game start and they're around 500 and they're sputtering? Do you have a lot of Vegas Golden Knights fans? And I still don't know the true number of Golden Knights fans that actually wanted Tortorella back. I'm sure based on emotion and based on recent results and what have you done for me lately, I'm sure there's a good number of them who wanted him back. I think Ryan Craig is the right choice. I think something's clear with this roster. They're going to have to shed some salary. They can't bring everyone back. If they actually want to make a run at Dylan Larkin, they especially have to do that, which also means the roster will look like it has almost every year since year one, and that it can be a top-heavy roster with lots of cheap reinforcements. And where do a lot of those reinforcements come, aside from free agency and some minor trades? The minor leagues. And I don't think Tortorella is willing to play a lot of the young guys. I think Ryan Craig's in place because he's going to be willing to play those young guys and mix them in with the older guys, the high-priced guys.
Well, not only that, Cofield, again, familiarity clearly was the way that the organization wanted to go. And I just go back to what I said in the first segment where and what you just said. I do believe, let's say Vegas gets off to, let's say they win 7 out of their first 20, something like that.
Yeah.
Hey, there's going to be a part of the fan base that is furious that they did not keep Tortorella around. Long-term wise, again, I don't know. We've only seen Ryan Craig be a head coach in the AHL. We've seen him as an assistant with the big club, but we still need – it's an unfinished product, right? We have no clue. We have no clue what he's going to be as an NHL head coach, and only time will tell if this was the right move, not even – realistically speaking, not even considering bringing Tortorella back based off how quickly everything moved. But we'll get a better sense of it, and it's not going to take 20 games. It's not going to take 40 games. It's probably going to take a whole year, and you just hope, let's say, as long as the Knights are in the playoffs next year, you just hope that it's not a quick move if the team is a little bit lesser than I think people would hope next year.
Yeah, so one of the guys who does Locked On VGK, Chris, said, only in Vegas can you go from a Stanley Cup winning coach to another Stanley Cup winning coach to being 2 wins away from winning a Stanley Cup to a new coach with zero NHL head coaching experience in a 90-day period.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's very trolly because it doesn't necessarily give an opinion. I didn't give an opinion. But I think some people are going to react to that by saying, what do you mean? They didn't do anything wrong?
Nah,
I'm with them. Well, I'm with them on Torts being gone. That was not going to work moving forward. Now, again, I will repeat for the third straight day, and I'll give you more angles on this because I got more reaction. I do think BGK could have fished in, we'll say aggressive waters and gone after someone at a high dollar amount, and I still believe that they should have been in play for Rod Brindamore at a minimum level just to screw with the Canes and screw with Tom Dundon. But what did I say when Cassidy was out? Because I think you were on that day. Cassidy was out, Torts is in. I said, you have to trust these guys.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I think the one area I would question them on is goalie contracts long-term. They've had a couple now. They've had 3 where you're like, okay.
Yeah, not great.
Right? Fleury was signed for too long. Obviously, yeah. They made a really bad deal with Robin Leonard. And then this one, we'll see. I hope they get their confidence back and Aiden Hill is back out there. But you have to trust them. They've generally been right on their head coach hires. Now, eventually that person wears out their welcome. They change their mind after a year and a half to 2.5 years.
Again, the shelf life for a hockey coach is 3 years anyway, right?
It's not abnormal around the league now.
It's not abnormal. I mean, Again, now it's not normal to fire the guy with 8 games to go or 4 games to go now. Happened twice. Islanders did it too, and they just did it too late.
NBA coming up on the offseason and also on the Knicks, because you were actually in the Northeast when the Knicks got the job done over the weekend to win the title, so we'll get your feel for what it was like in northern New Jersey and that New York area. But on the way back, there was a massive event. Hell, there was a guy today, by the way, this is UFC White House was not political at all, but for some reason today, someone from the RNC was speaking about how big the ratings were. I'm like, why is this person speaking about UFC? Like, it has been fully embraced as if there's some war going on. There actually is. There's been a very strong reaction to the event and some of the things that were said during the event. But I know a guy who was on the ground. He was working the event. We'll get the skinny. We talked to Adam Hill yesterday. RJ Clifford was there. He was working the event. He's great as part of the MMA media. RJ is up next on Cofield and Company.
Now back to Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
All right, rolling on a Wednesday. You heard it, Battleborn Broadcast Center. Justin Watkins coming up in a little over 20 minutes. I will warn everyone, we talk about everything with UFC and UFC White House, but for now, it's a safe space to talk about the fights and the spectacle and the magnitude of the event. As angry as it makes a lot of people in the audience and on social media. RJ Clifford is in. He was another one of the, I'll call them cast members, if we can only pay everyone, right? He's one of the cast members who was lucky enough to be at the White House for UFC. RJ, right out of the gates, when you look back on this event, what's the first thing you're going to think of? Was it a fight? Was it a moment? Was it a visual? Oh, man, what a setup. And I'm getting stunned silence. See if we can punch up Mr. Clifford.
Okay.
There he is.
Great job, Clifford. Great job.
There he is.
A nice silence, right? I like to make a build up the moment.
Dramatic.
You can't have Justin Gaethje do what he did to Ilia Topuria without making that the center point. I don't care if that fight was in the Apex. I don't care if that fight's at the White House. I don't care if that fight was in Red Square for Putin's birthday. That was one of the most incredible performances I'd ever seen. All you can do with these venues and with the places that you go to, the countries you go to, the walkout songs, all that does is try to encapsulate and make bigger the actual thing that's happening inside of the cage. That's all it is. If the fight sucks, all the stuff around it could be fun and good. And wow, that production team really did a great job. And man, that Marine Corps band sure knows how to wail. But if the fights don't follow through, then it's just not going to matter. And so I think all the pageantry, all the work that was done, being at the White House, the airplanes flying overhead and beating the weather, all that did was set up one of the greatest, in the spotlight, time to deliver moments I can remember since Chris Weidman beat Anderson Silva the first time.
Did I see a photo of you, speaking of around the fight, did I see a photo of you in front of the Lincoln Memorial?
So the press conference was in the Lincoln Memorial. I was there.
Okay.
The ceremonial weigh-in was at the Ellipse, that giant stage where Zach Brown Band had a performance afterwards. That's where I was as well. And then because of weather, the desk that I was working was supposed to be at the Ellipse during fight day. Because of weather, we got moved into the green room of the White House with Teddy Roosevelt portrait, just overlooking where we were doing our work. So the gods, the weather gods, were trying to screw people, but they did me and everyone else a favor who was working the desk.
I want to get into the actual fight with Gaethje and Topuria in a couple minutes, but let's get to the one that's really been hot the last couple of days for people who want to talk about the fights, and that is the heavyweight fight with Gane and Pereira. I don't know if Pereira would have won the fight because I didn't like his fight game plan. I thought he was laying back way too much against Gane. I think he needed to attack a lot more. But the controversy is, did Herb Dean allow 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 shots to the back of the head of Pereira when he was injured?
So I'll start this off by saying Herb Dean was in such a tough situation that the best referee doing the best possible decision in that moment would still receive criticism because one thing was going to go one way or the other. So this was a finishing sequence. Alex Pereira was hurt going down, and in mixed martial arts, there's no standing 8 count. When they go down, you follow up with shots to try to put them away. To stop a fight there for a foul, during a finishing sequence is one of the toughest decisions a referee can make, because once you stop and say that was a foul, let's stand back up, let's figure things out, that gives the fighter that was getting hurt a chance to recover. That took away an opportunity to finish for the guy that was attacking. That sequence. So I don't want to come on here and trash Herb Dean, because it was the best referees in mixed martial arts would not have been able to make 100% correct decision. That's just the nature of mixed martial arts. This isn't baseball, where like rules are often so black and white. It's mixed martial arts. With that said, I counted 2 illegal strikes, 8 legal ones, and 2 where like the angle was really tough. So, and again, at very first watch, I thought, ooh, what was that, like 10 illegal shots to the back of the head? That's not good. But then after a extensive replay and me looking and counting, nowhere near as egregious as I thought in that moment. So even though Herb Dean's going to take a lot of flack for his non-action, I think that was the correct move. The right guy won during the right sequence.
What did that win do for you for Gane?
Well, the world's his oyster at this point now. There's that rematch with Tom Aspinall. Gane won the interim heavyweight championship Sunday night. Tom Aspinall is still the heavyweight champion, whether he's waiting because of contract disputes with the UFC or because of an eye injury. Probably only him and his doctor really know the answer to that question. I don't see John Jones coming back for a rematch with Gane. He made pretty easy work of him. Was it 4 years ago now? Several years ago when they fought for the heavyweight title. And when Tom Aspinall first fought, it was ended because of that eye poke, but Gane was getting the better of Tom Aspinall, who's looked basically unbeatable the last half decade or so. So he's the interim heavyweight champion, and interim champions should only fight the actual champion if they're available.
Should Pereira stay at heavyweight?
I think he's too far gone to come back. I mean, Shorty's got that ass like Blau. Did you see how big he was? I mean, he looked like he was like just on a squat rack for the last 6 months. He's huge now. And to be fair, Cyril Gane is probably the worst stylistic matchup for Cyril Gane. He's for Alex Pereira. Cyril Gane, so smooth, such good footwork, can jab from both stances. He is just a nightmare matchup for Poatan.
RJ Clifford with us, recapping UFC White House. Gaethje fought the fight of his life, or Topuria had a terrible game plan?
I thought Topuria fought Justin Gaethje the way he's fought most of his opponents, which you really can't blame him when you're 17-0 and you just laid to waste 3 Hall of Famers back to back to back. He fought like he was the bigger guy, but he wasn't. Gaethje, I don't think size was the ultimate factor in why things went Gaethje's way, but it was a factor. Gaethje was able to kind of jab down. So Gaethje did a couple things he's always had these tools in his toolbox, but he rarely ever uses them. He has a great jab. He has a very damaging jab, but instead he just wants to rock 'em, sock 'em robots. And he did a really good job of intercepting Ilya coming in. Ilya, because he was shorter, Gaethje was able to use that rear uppercut, use that rear hand, and kind of stop him in his tracks. He was able to anti-wrestle really well. Did a little bit of offensive wrestling, not quite like Paddy Pimblett, but that's certainly far more than he's done over the course of his UFC career. Ilya, I think, started to really enjoy the smell of his own farts. And I understand why, because he had just done so well. And I think he thought he can just do what he's done the last 3 fights against the guy you have to strategically game plan for. Because Ilya, like, in round 2, we saw it. Body shots is how Justin Gaethje lost his first 2 fights against Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez. It was the body shots that got him there. I mean, whatever Gaethje's skull is made out of, we need to experiment with it and make tank armor out of it. Like, it's incredible. So it's been proven before. You go to the body to Justin Gaethje. Ilya did it briefly in round 2, gave up on it after that. I think Ilya was just kind of stubborn in his game plan. And he made all these claims of a first round knockout, and it basically said, like, after I weigh in, it's already decided what's going to happen. I just got to show up.
So Topuria got his face blown up. He got destroyed in the fight. Look ahead lines have Topuria in a rematch as a minus 240 favorite. Adam Hill yesterday on Cofield and Company said easy fight for Topuria. I don't agree.
I don't agree either. There are a couple variables with this one. I think there's a couple ways this can go. First off, Ilya Topuria was in a divorce the last year. That's why there was an interim title to begin with. He had some personal things to deal with. Who knows how much that affected him over the course of the last 6 months or so. Who knows? But that's now behind him. The other one is when you tie your identity to being an undefeated UFC champion. Joanna Jędrzejczyk did that. She made her nickname Joanna Champion. Not Joanna Awesome, not Joanna the Great, not something that you can keep after a loss. It was Joanna Champion. And she was never the same after she was, that O disappeared in the L column. And then she still had some good fights and she still won some fights, still beat some good fighters, but she just was never really the same. This is a turning point for Ilia Topuria. Is this moment going to be like when Matt Serra knocked out George St. Pierre and GSP came back better than ever and never lost again? Or is this going to be like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, where Ilia Topuria is just so entrenched in being an undefeated, untouchable fighter, no one's ever going to ever handle me?
RJ Clifford is with us. All right, let's get to some of the stuff around the event. Ann Evans, who used to work for the UFC, suggests that Daniel Cormier could be fired for sending out the DMs of Eric Trump. Did you get wind of what the hell was going on there? I know you were very busy. Again, I will point to Adam Hill, who said yesterday he didn't believe that was actually Daniel Cormier's wording, verbiage on the tweets that were sent out to catch people up on the story. There was a tweet sent out that suggested Eric Trump was looking for inside information from Daniel Cormier.
So Daniel Cormier posted on X the screenshot of Eric Trump DMing him. Now, whether that was the real Eric Trump or someone impersonating him, I don't know. But what made, I know Daniel Cormier very well, worked with him for over a decade. The words that he used when he posted those screenshots were overly sarcastic, very tongue-in-cheek. He clearly didn't think that was Eric Trump. DC is just so playful. He's like a Labrador. He doesn't understand the stakes of insinuating a family member of the person who's the head of the executive branch of the federal government is asking for insider betting lines on the DMs of social media. Like, I don't think DC understands the gravity of that. And I think it was a joke that fell flat that really nobody thought was funny.
RJ Clifford's with us. All right, there's two different stories here with Josh Hokett. Let's talk about Josh Hokett, the fighter, and the performance.
Looked absolutely fantastic. Now, Derek Lewis, in his 40s now, he's making a ton of money because he was able to leverage his contract when Francis Ngannou was a free agent looking for an opponent in the PFL. Derek Lewis was able to say, hey, my contract's up. Pay me or I'm going to go, which is what you're supposed to do as a mixed martial artist. He's making a ton of money, win, lose, or draw. Like I said, in his 40s, he's never the most overly motivated fighter to begin with. And Josh Hokett made him look every bit a part of that. Now, with that said, I think the hands of Josh Hokett have gotten better and better every time out. His jab to shot combination is no longer just me boxing jab, me turn into wrestler shoot. It's flowing together very well. He's becoming a mixed martial artist as opposed to a guy who flows from boxing to wrestling. His armbar was one of the most atrocious, ugly armbars I've ever seen. It was so bad, I thought he was like a trolling armbar. I don't know that existed in mixed martial arts, but I think it did. Like, he had a gable grip. He wasn't lifting his hips. He was turning to his corner and making faces. I'm like, what? But I guess that just shows you how comfortable he is fighting the all-time leader in knockouts in the UFC on the White House lawn, and you're still keeping your gimmick going inside the cage. You got to be comfortable there if you're Josh.
Now on to Josh Hokett, the promotional magician. Every step of the way was infantile, ineffective, clunky, and then him calling Michelle Obama a man was very offensive to a lot of people. Your thoughts? Because I don't know where he's going, and I actually think he's titillated by the reaction. I believe that he believes this is cool.
I think MMA fans, a segment of MMA fans, are so starved for personality that they'll take anything. That they are lost in the desert looking for water, and you give them sand, and if you tell them it's water, they'll drink it. Right? What was that line from the American president? Michael J. Fox said something like that. I feel like that's a segment of mixed martial arts fans that will take literally anything they give them. Josh Hokett's bit isn't good. It isn't funny. Maybe 1 out of 10 things he says draws a reaction that's clever or funny or makes me giggle. Sometimes he does. You don't talk that much and not every now and then, close your eyes, throw darts at the dartboard.
All right.
But I think fans are just starved for something, anything, come up with whatever. And then, the Michelle Obama line, I don't know how deep you are into the comedic weeds, but that's kind of like an underlying brewing thing with some comedians kind of hinting that like that's a thing. So it wasn't just kind of out of nowhere. but it didn't belong in a place like that. And certainly, like, I'm not gonna say it ruined the performance, but like now that's what everyone's talking about, not the fact you just demolished a former title challenger who has the most knockouts in UFC history.
RJ Clifford with us here on Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas. Why was Tyson Fury there? What do you think they have in the works?
Well, apparently Anthony Joshua. Zuffa Boxing is obviously growing and growing and growing. And and you know, the UFC, every single fight is just promoting the next one. Like, that's what you do as a smart fight promoter, is you start setting up whatever's coming up next. And Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury would absolutely be huge. It sounds like Zuffa Boxing's kind of in the process of making that happen. And why not launch your next biggest fight with the biggest night that you've got? So the details are still kind of murky, but I think that's kind of the point, is they just kind of get you titillated and then I'll let you know later.
RJ, you know TV well. You work around the stuff. RJ Clifford's with us. We're talking UFC, White House. So, one, a lot of people are complaining because there's no replay of the event, which would be awesome to watch. The event was on Paramount Plus. CBS, big CBS, did not have the event. Could there have been a bigger benefit for the promotion if the event had been on big CBS? Or because I understand why they had it on Paramount Plus, because you're trying to drive the biggest audience ever to Paramount Plus and get signups.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No question. On CBS, like when Dana White was talking, we're going to get Super Bowl numbers, TV people kind of, rolled their eyes. That's promoter speak a little bit, but a CBS number would have been massive. But why did Paramount Plus give the UFC $7.7 billion? It wasn't to sell ad inventory on Channel 2. It was to drive Paramount Plus subscriptions. And with the amount of money, I've heard a lot of experts say, by experts I mean MMA media, that say there's no way Paramount Plus is ever going to make that money back with what they're spending to give the UFC the broadcast rights. They've got some ideas, and one of them is taking White House level cards 4 weeks before Conor McGregor fights, by the way, on July 11th, right at T-Mobile Arena for International Fight Week. Like, they've got some plans for the UFC to recoup that money, and by putting on CBS, it just it would have made the event bigger for sure, but Paramount didn't give the UFC all that money to make their events bigger. They made it to drive Paramount Plus to subscription. That's 2026, man. It's weird. We used to think all that mattered was TV ratings. That Nielsen rating was all that mattered in sports. Not anymore.
Last 45 seconds, I'm not even sure you can put it into words. Like, how impressive was the setup? Like, how detailed was it? Because I saw Conor McGregor yesterday said, hey, they need to do more stuff like this. And we're not saying that level, but, like, how complicated was it to set up?
It took, in my very biased opinion, the best production in all of sports, the UFC's. It took roughly $60 million. It took 10 months. It took the blessing of the sitting U.S. president to make all of this happen. You're not just going to do that for any fight coming up, right? Like, you're not like next week at the Apex, there's a pretty good fight, right? Pretty decent fight between Kopp and Horiguchi. You're not putting the resources into that type of fight. So I think when the stars align for the UFC, when circumstances allow it, that's what they do. You look at the during COVID, when the UFC went to Abu Dhabi and Fight Island, they did a massive number. It was Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman, did like 1.2 million buys. That's crazy. And then you had the Sphere and that amazing kind of just like techno porn of a show that was. And then when you have the sitting president who's friends with your company say, let's do it on the White House lawn, they do it. So it's up to circumstances. It can't just happen.
RJ, you're the man. Good timing. We'll talk to you, buddy.
Later, guys.
There he is, RJ Clifford up on Twitter. RJ Clifford, MMA.
Las Vegas. It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
All right, here we go. 4 o'clock hour. Cofield and Company. We're here at the Battleborn Broadcast Center. Justin Watkins is going to join us here in just a second. Jeff Parles is hosting the show today. Much to get to. Lots on VGK. The season is over. Justin, how you doing, buddy?
Everything's good. I mean, I got to see the third Stanley Cup awarded on, on the home ice of the VGK. I saw a crazy stat today that there is no active arena in the NHL that has presented the cup more than T-Mobile Arena. There's some arenas that have been around a long time, decades, and none of them have presented the cup more than T-Mobile Arena.
That's super interesting because, like, I'm just going through my head because Toronto hasn't been to a cup final in eons, obviously. Montreal has the new Century Bell is relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Boston.
Same with the Islanders.
Same with the Islander. That building's gone.
Mm-hmm.
MSG just hasn't had a lot of play through the years, and
so you got to go to Pittsburgh. You got to go to Detroit. You got to go to Chicago.
Right, but Detroit's a new arena.
Yeah.
Chicago, they won 2 of their cups on visiting ice.
Yes.
Because there's Boston and the ridiculous comeback against Boston and Philly. And then they beat Tampa at home. Lightning have not. That's also like, that's another one. There are 2 because the third one was
in the bubble.
So that's 9 years around. Pretty good.
5 minutes away from a long breakdown of what we just saw in the Stanley Cup final, what just happened the last couple of days with Torts and now Ryan Craig, and then the offseason. There's a ton to get to. But I actually wanted to start out with World Cup because Jeff is going to a game tomorrow. We had talked about World Cup and Vegas last week or 2 weeks ago about us passing on it. Jeff, what's your case based on what you're seeing now?
Huge mistake. Because
why? What are we saying?
We are seeing, first off, everyone was so concerned, and look, me a little bit, but not as much as some of. I actually would throw the legacy media more so under the bus than the influencers on this, of that the prices are too high. You're squeezing out the little guy. Who's going to show up? No one can afford this. There has legitimately only been one game that the attendance looked mediocre, and it was in Mexico. It was in Guadalajara. The environments have been awesome. The reception, and this is something, especially in the lead up with everything that was going on with questions about visas and all that. It seems like the international fan has had an amazing time so far in this, and this has been a great showcase for Boston, for even the state of New Jersey, in all honesty. Miami, the crowd looked awesome there for that Uruguay and Saudi Arabia game. The crowd today in Houston for Portugal and the DR Congo was an amazing, it just feels like all these cities have gotten a little bit of a pop from just a positive publicity standard, which just doesn't happen very much in the modern day here.
Yeah, well, last week I would have normally agreed with you, and I was of the position of I can't believe we don't have the World Cup here at Allegiant when all was said and done, and then we got this news report. And specifically, they were citing officials within Chicago and Minneapolis that talked about what the World Cup ask really was and how absurd their ask really was. And it made me believe that I think Vegas has to maintain that sort of reputation of you need us more than we need you. We're not going to buy into a situation and devalue ourselves. And I'd actually say this. I tend to agree with everything that you're saying, except I don't know that same sort of pop would happen to Vegas for a couple of reasons. Almost everybody internationally that has the ability to travel to the United States via visa has been to Vegas, number one. And number two, it's hot out there, man. And where are they going to have? They're not going to parlay it into the resort corridor. I just don't think that it's going to have that international mix and flair that you're seeing specifically, I'll say, with Boston and the Scotland fans. They're at Fenway and they're singing the whole time, and it's freaking awesome. But I just don't think you would have seen that same thing here because the overlap didn't exist. The A's weren't in town this week. The Stanley Cup wasn't going to go until this week. So I don't know where the crossover was going to happen outside of maybe some venues like the Sphere or some concerts.
For what it's worth. So I was in New Jersey over the weekend. Morocco and Brazil played a game there on Saturday. I flew back to town on Sunday night. There were about 25 Moroccan fans that were on my flight back. Well, which was fascinating to me as well. Where, again, there's no games here, and yet on a flight of 180 people, 25 out of 180, that's not a small percentage of the people on that plane were coming here with no games,
which I think proves the point.
which helps your argument for sure.
We already got him.
Which helps you. Which again, it's so interesting his whole lead up, because there's been more, and look, not to say there hasn't been things that have gone wrong. There's always, in a major event like this, there's going to be things that are not right, that happen that aren't right. But I have seen more positive things in the last week about the U.S. from people that are international than I probably have in probably 10 years, 15 years. It's been a very, very long time since I think there's been positive mojo internationally about the U.S.
I tend to agree. I mean, I forwarded this feed. I don't know if you saw this. There's this French guy who was talking about how the greatest thing about America that he didn't anticipate before he got over here was air conditioning, and they need to add it to our national anthem. We have the best air conditioning in the world, and we're not promoting it. And like you see these you see these little social media clips of some Europeans or Africans having like ranch for the first time. I love that stuff.
The TSA even had to put out a tweet the other day of like, if you're taking ranch, you've got to check it. You can't bring it through security. It'll get confiscated.
Yeah. So I like that kind of stuff. I tend to agree with you. I think it's been great. And I like the times. The times are awesome.
It's great for us on the West Coast.
Oh my gosh. I love this 9 p.m. game that you have last night. It's on. I mean, I'm not super invested, but it's super great to have something that's on that catches some attention while I'm doing some other things around the house. I've watched parts of almost every single game. And the Morocco-Brazil one's like 2 top 10 teams. Like,
it was a great match.
It was great. Yeah. Watching the England-Croatia game today, that was great. I think overall it's been awesome, but I also do think that Vegas and its stadium needs to stand up for themselves and say, like, hey, we're bigger than the other cities. We don't have to buy into this. We don't have to, pay and leverage ourselves in order to get your fans, because they're coming here anyway. Guess what? If they're going to LA, if they're going to San Francisco, we're going to get them anyway.
Okay, on the field, what's going on with the hydration break controversy?
So I'm interested to hear from a soccer guy, Jeff. Like, I'm watching this stuff, and then they're like, oh, it's a hydration break. And I'm like, I didn't know that there was a hydration break. Like, I don't watch enough soccer to, like, I know Premier League and Champions League does not have a hydration break. I know that. And so I was like, oh, I guess I just missed that. And then all these loyalists are like, all the money grab of the USA World Cup. It's all part of what's happening with this monetization that the FIFA's gotten so greedy with bringing the World Cup to North America that they've interjected this opportunity for commercials, right? And on the basis of, well, the heat's so extreme that we must provide this. And meanwhile, you look around and you're like, maybe at 1 or 2 of the venues for maybe 1 or 2 of the games, you could justify it. But otherwise, they're just saying, well, if we provide a hydration break for 1, we must provide it for all. The loyalists out there are saying it's ruining the game. It's breaking up the flow of the game. They're pointing to some data that shows that like momentum is shifting after that 22-minute stoppage. And so I'm interested to hear from you whether you think it's really affected the game.
So the only other time they did this was in Brazil in 2014. So what are the common denominators with that? We're talking about very warm summer climate, high humidity, especially down there, especially on all these outdoor East Coast sites, New Jersey. I'm going to call it New Jersey, not New York, New Jersey. The stadium's in New Jersey. Yeah. Boston, which is really Foxborough, Philadelphia, Miami, obviously. Those are all outdoor high humidity stadiums. Now it's a little bit ridiculous that Atlanta has the roof closed. Dallas and Houston have the roof closed. LA, even with whatever setup it is, I mean, it's going to be 71 degrees tomorrow. It's going to be absolutely perfect. San Francisco did spike a 90 on Saturday in that Switzerland game, but last night it was perfect. The only match where I've seen the momentum kind of swing was actually this afternoon, the England-Croatia game you mentioned, where England was really just destroying Croatia, and then it flipped right out of the hydration break. Ended up not mattering because England won the match 4-2. It doesn't bother me. When they did in 2014, they didn't have the commercials. They didn't let the broadcasters do the commercials. That's the only difference this go around, which whatever, it doesn't bother me. After they figure it out, they get back on time because the opening match, they missed about 20 seconds of play. Ever since then, they've been fine. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I think the article I read cited 4 games that they had pointed to where there had been a score within 5 minutes of a team that had the kind of the momentum going against them and then sort of structurally changed. I don't know enough about soccer for me to weigh in on something like that, but
I mean,
for me, like, okay, so what? I get 2 commercials for an hour and a half. I'm like, that's pretty good.
and one of the matches that the scoring happened, it was Germany and Curacao, which Curacao had their moment. They scored their goal, and then
Germany got 6-4,
and then it normalized. Yeah. So, I don't think it's as big of a deal as the people that it's basically like the old school baseball people, right? Something changes, it annoys them. It's kind of the same deal with the International Football Committee.
On to VGK and the coaching change. So one poll said that 54% of VGK fans said they wanted Torts back behind the bench. He's not behind the bench. He's gone. They've hired a new coach. On Torts, Tortorella, did you want him back?
I don't think so. I mean, it's so funny to hear the lead-in talk about a poll of VGK fans, because if there is one organization that does not care what the fans think, it's this organization. Is in regards to, I mean, they do a survey at the end of the year about like their concessions and all that stuff, but they don't care what we think about who should be playing or who should coach the team. Torts has never coached over here on the West Coast. He has no real connections to the West Coast. I think he gave him a heck of a run. But you know what? I don't really necessarily think it's a personality fit out here with this organization. I think he's a strong personality, and I think at some point they would have sort of butted heads. So I think it was great for a while it lasted, but I think the decision was made before he stepped foot on the ice. It was going to be Ryan Craig. He knew it. They knew it. It was a done deal. He said, Torts didn't talk a lot about this during the pressers during the run, but he said, I'm here until June. That was our agreement with Kelly from day one. That's the only thing he ever said about it. He was consistent the whole time. So I never got my hopes up that there was going to be anything different. And frankly, like, hey, I love the run, but I don't like the press conferences.
What do you mean?
They're boring. He doesn't give any answers. He doesn't talk about anything. And there's no interaction whatsoever. He completely controls the press conference. I'm not saying I'd be any different, but when you come from Cassidy, who's giving a lot of very detailed answers, you feel like as a fan, you learn a lot. And so
got to embrace the community, got to embrace the fans. You can't just do what you want. Ryan Craig is on the way in. On the way back, we'll break down the hire of Ryan Craig.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Justin Watkins in. You heard it, Battleborn Injury Lawyers presents the 4 o'clock hour every day. 766-1400 is the call from anywhere in the state of Nevada number. All right, Ryan Craig is in. Your thoughts? He's the new head coach of the Golden Knights.
You know what? I think this one's going to be interesting to monitor because, Bill Foley is clearly the kind of person that gets his inner circle and sticks with it. So, like, I don't think McPhee and McCrimmon are going anywhere. Like, there are Foley guys for as long as Foley's there, right? And they have sort of groomed Ryan Craig for the entirety of the time that he's been here. Like, clearly he is their guy. And they have, up until this point, treated head coaches like they are completely dispensable and have done so on whims the entire time. I shouldn't say at whims, but frequently they have done it. Cassidy was the longest tenured at 4 years. So does their behavior change because this is their guy? When they got rid of previous regimes, they always retained Ryan Craig. It was everybody's gone except goalie coach and Ryan Craig the entire time. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to get a longer leash than every other coach has gotten. I just don't think you plan the chessboard out this far in advance for this long to give up on your guy in 2 years or 3 years. And the interesting part is, and you've heard me say this before, I think we're at the closing of our window. I don't know that we're going to be able to maintain Stanley Cup contention level of play for 5 more years. I don't think that that's possible. I think we've got like a 1 to 3 year window here. The thing that's working in our favor is obviously free agents want to be here, and the cap is going up significantly. I think that helps us a lot. I think that extends the window. I think basically almost any free agent we want, we can get in on, and that's going to be incredibly helpful.
I think it goes back to what I said earlier in the show, Cofield, where we've seen, like you said, Justin, he's made it through every regime. He's been here from the start of the organization's history, but he's never been a head coach in this league.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really know what he'll be. Now, I do agree with you that the leash will be longer. Whether the leash will be, let's say the Knights next year have an underachieving year, they make the playoffs, but they lose in round 1. There may not be a hot seat going into year 2, as opposed to other guys who would have had the hot seat probably midway through that year. But again, and you brought this up earlier, Cofield, the familiarity of him with the organization and the way that this team is going to be built. You're building out your 4th line and guys who may even play up on the 3rd line with either low-cost veterans or guys who are on the Henderson Silver Knights. And who knows him better than Ryan Craig?
I mean, I chuckle at the idea that like anybody in Henderson's really gonna be a part of
But they're gonna have to be rotational pieces here and there.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 1 or 2. It's like Rombier, Bowman have been the guys who have come up here and there as injuries go throughout the season. But you've seen once this team thinks that they have a chance to go after a cup, they fill out through trade and free agency. I don't think that that's going to change because Ryan Craig's the coach. But, I mean, there is promise to seeing what he did. I mean, he had a very good season in Henderson. We're not known for our organizational depth. We don't have a lot of draft picks that have developed their way through. So he did a good job there. I also think that he has been exposed to the coaching styles of some very high level coaches. You could argue that part of the short leash that VGK has had on its coaches is akin to the idea that they have, for the entirety of their time, had retreads as coaches. They have all had tons of head coaching experience, been at other places for a long period of time. So you know what you got and you know what you don't. And so they move off of those quickly. Maybe now it's going to be different. Maybe now this is the guy that they've been grooming all along. Well, it is the guy they've been grooming all along. There's no doubt about that. But he's been exposed to coaches like Pete DeBoer and Cassidy and Torts and, Turk. And so that's a pretty good lineup of coaches to learn from.
To go off on a tangent for a second, I said the last 3 days on the air and on social media that Foley should have made a run at the Canes' Rod Brindamore. And boy, oh boy, did that make Canes fans real mad. We're a big market, apparently, because Podunk got real upset.
I mean, we are. We are the evil empire of the NHL.
Well, we have a big market owner.
Yep.
And see, when I put out the video the other day, immediately people get emotional. And how'd you describe Raleigh? They're acting like what?
I don't
like
even
small town.
Yeah, they're acting
like
market. Tiny market. Yeah.
Complex.
Yeah.
And my point was, if Tom Dundon, the owner of the Blazers and the Canes, wants to be a cheap ass and pay Rod Brindamore $2 million, and the top coaches in the NHL make $4 to $6.5, this organization plays in the big boy sandbox. Let Cheapo do that, and Rod Brindamore should walk. And then the responses I got were, he's already said that he's not leaving. He's loyal. Yeah, so have how many other coaches over the years said, oh, I'm not going to leave for another job. I love it here. Who cares what he says publicly? He would never leave to go to Vegas because it's a disloyal organization. The other one that I love, which is the misnomer, of course, everywhere around the country, he would never raise his kids in Vegas because Vegas is a terrible place to raise your kids. And then, well, I'll just leave it at that because I got one more great comment I wanted to get to. But you get my point. I don't even know if they could get Rod Brindamore. I don't care. You go and make an offer. The Knicks effed with everyone this offseason. Make Dundon pay. Maybe he gets squeamish on paying his roster. That's part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they got have a 0.0% chance of getting Rod Brindamore. I mean, I think he is tied to Canes hockey more than any
At
other.
$2 million a year when top coaches get $5 million.
Yeah, I think
now,
so.
am I confident that that Dundon will jump him up? Like 50-50?
I mean, I think he is the Canes organization. I really do. I mean, his identity is more akin to that organization than any other identity. I think he loves the area. He's proven that. Like, I think it's 0.0. I know that's not your point. Your point is that we could play in that sandbox with anybody.
They do it with the players.
Yes.
They do it with the players.
Yep.
Hey, you want to show an ounce of disrespect for a top player in your organization? VGK's coming in. Let's go.
You know what I loved about the end of the season pressers and the media availabilities is Jack Eichel's gotten so good at this. And, coming in, I think it's part of that Buffalo experience that he had. He was just very arm's length with the media. He didn't give a lot of answers. And now he's really rounded into form where he gives some great answers. And they were asking him about the, most hated organization.
So let's pause here for a second. We have the sound. James, can you fire Eichel on VGK?
If you ask guys in the league, Vegas ain't on people's no trade list. So this is a place people want to be and people want to play, and this is an organization that people want to be a part of.
Keep going, Justin.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of what makes sports great. Like, I'm typically a fan of the small market little guy underdog, and I love trying to compete and with the bigger. All of my fandom has always been more small market stuff. But man, is it wonderful to be on this side of it and be a fan of an organization that doesn't try. I mean, they could claim small market. I mean,
Sure.
we're one of the smallest cities.
That's our great fear, and I've already seen good signs with it. But that is our great fear with John Fisher. That like, hey, it's better, but we're still in a kind of a medium-sized to small market.
Yep.
But I think all owners need to realize early on here, like, that's not the way we look at it. Bill Foley ruined it for the rest of you.
Yep. Well, and wherever they do with the NBA and whatever ownership group gets on board with it, if they want to compete in this city for our attention, if they care about that, I don't know. I don't know that they all care about that. I think some of them just assume that they're going to get the tourist money and that's good. But if they want it, they need to compete like Foley.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Evil Empire, love it, embracing it. VGK lost, but now the offseason, and this is great to have Bill Foley as an owner, and it's been this way, but man, the fact that Canada hates us in Vegas, Raleigh's beating us up, good. Now freaking grind them to the bone. This offseason need to be hyper-aggressive. I want to talk about players here in a second, but one more thing on my thought about, hey, go after the best coaches possible. You get to screw with Tom Dundon, the owner of Carolina, and they got Ryan Craig as a head coach. I like the hire. I trust these guys. But I had a comment from someone in Raleigh who was a Canes fan who said about Brind'Amour coming to Vegas. He said, do Golden Knights players want to get into the shape that Rod demands and play his style? Unlikely. We won because our guys will.
I mean,
please stop.
Yeah, I do.
Please stop.
He's been a coach there for 9 years.
Now we're accusing the VGK of being a weak player group who wouldn't want to put in the work. Cut it out.
I mean, if you take Brind'Amour's been the coach here for 9 years, I believe.
Yeah, it was either 8 or 9. Yeah.
Okay. The entire history of the Golden Knights. And if you took those 9 years versus our 9 years, who would you take? Everybody would take VGK's 9 years over their 9 years. Okay. They couldn't get out of they couldn't get out of the conference finals. That was their reputation. They lost 16 games in a row in the conference finals since they had last won the cup in 2006. So let's not rewrite history as if Brind'Amour all of a sudden is John Cooper. I mean, I think he's an awesome coach, but whatever his style was isn't the gospel that's won 4 cups in 5 years. He won a cup. Good. I mean, they were a good team, and they were a good team from beginning of the year to the end of the year. From my opinion, once Karlsson went down, I had very little hope that we were going to be able to do this, because this season we played without Karlsson for 68 games. We were a mediocre team. And when he went down, we were a mediocre team in the Stanley Cup final.
By the way, they ain't winning the cup. They're not defending it with that goalie situation.
Well,
so
I think-
Dundon better go spend some money.
Well, I was just gonna say the most important move of the entire series was him sticking with Bussy. If he goes back to Anderson after pulling
Well,
the
he
game
couldn't
3,
anyway because Anderson was hurt. That's what he said afterwards.
okay,
and maybe,
but
you're
still.
right. Maybe that's a cover.
But I
Who
think
knows?
there could be we'll never know.
Right.
But Bussy was awesome.
He was.
The last 3 games, and in the end, all those years of not winning anything in the conference final was because their goaltending stunk.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally got 3 high-end games of goaltending. And look, Vegas is up 2-0 in game 2 with 8 minutes to go. You're supposed to win that game. You're up 2-0 at the end of the second period in game 3. That game's never supposed to go to overtime. And it's funny where those 2 games, to me, it was the goalie change and it was that. Actually, game 3 going to overtime, even though Vegas won, are the 2 biggest reasons that this series was lost for the Knights. Not that Carolina was tougher, not that all that. Carolina was the less fatigued team the last 3 games. Could that be Brenda Moore's style and work ethic? Sure. I just think that Vegas expended more energy getting to this point.
I mean, I think Carolina did to Vegas what Vegas did to Florida when we won the cup.
Yeah.
They grinded us down. They did. We had some injuries that were caused as a result of the long run, and they did not. They deserve credit for some of those injuries. Like they inflicted some of their will onto us, just like we deserve credit for some of the injuries that happened to Florida when Kachuk got messed up. Like we put the hit on him that messed up his shoulder and broke his sternum. Like we did that. And so I don't want to take anything away from him. I actually don't think Bussy was the reason that Carolina won. I think he took over and fully in game 4. He didn't have a great save percentage in game 4. We scored on him, and we did okay there. Game 5 was fine. I mean, we only scored 2 goals, but we were not there as a team defensively. Game 6, he had a good game. I would say there was like 3 outstanding saves, but there was also just a ton of missed opportunities right on the doorstep. We're hitting crossbars, we're missing the net. Overall, it was a game that was out of desperation, and we played like it.
364-1100. Let's give away some Aviators tickets. Ticketmaster.com is where you can get them. It's for tomorrow's game, Thursday, a 4-pack right now. Aviators Round Rock, 364-1100, caller 7.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas and ESPN Reno.
Gee, damn it. Justin Watkins is here, and the spots get better and better, and every time he's ready to go, because, time is limited, we're like, we still have like another 45 minutes to go. Come on. So we have to get to Brendan Sorsby, because this is going to be a gigantic story, not only in college football, but now the NFL. I can't wait to see what the NFL does to try and railroad this kid. College football already did it against Parles, Cofield, and Justin's here with us. So let's start with, he's out. He's out.
Yep.
He's done with college football, and that comes on the heels of the fact that the Big 12 started throwing around their muscle a little bit and said, hey, we're going to look into Texas Tech here. Then Ken Paxton, the AG in Texas, who's running for the one of the Senate spots, he's like, oh, okay. Basically like, we'll see about that. Then the Kansas AG is like, okay, well, we're interested. We're interested in getting involved on the Big 12 end. So what the hell just happened here?
I mean, what happened is Ken Paxton screwed us all. We were going to have this great set of legal briefs coming out that are pointing finger at all each other. And if there's one school that was going to be willing to stand up for itself, I believe it was going to be Tech.
Yeah.
Because they stand to benefit more than any other school outside of maybe BYU by this new system. Like this new Wild West, anything goes. You got money to spend it and see what happens. Outspend them with lawyers. And what happened? There was, when the Big 12 said, we had a meeting with the ADs and the presidents, and we're going to look into Texas Tech and whether or not we can punish them as a conference. There were 2 letters sent, one by Sorensby's attorney, Kessler, and one by freaking AG of the state of Texas, Ken Paxton. Kessler's letter was perfect. Kessler's letter says, okay, not only would that be an antitrust violation, but you are subject to this order. This order says the NCAA and its conferences cannot punish Sorensby. And if you punish Texas Tech for not punishing Sorensby, you are violating this order. It was perfect. It was great. Paxton's letter says, hey, wait a minute. We're going to step in here, and we think you're violating antitrust if you come after Texas Tech and you seek to punish a school outside of the bylaw or within the bylaws of your conference. And that gave them the opening to file a federal lawsuit against Texas Tech and the AG of Texas to say, wait a minute, court, we've been threatened by the AG of Texas, and we need a declaration from you that our bylaws are enforceable and we can punish a member institution under our bylaws as we see fit, and that any state's attorney general does not have the power to stop us from doing so. They didn't claim it based on Kessler's letter. They couldn't, because we already have an order in place. They would have had to go right back to the same court and say, court, we're not subject to your order, right? And the court would have said, hey, yeah, you are. And that would have been over. So Paxton screwed all of us. We were about to hear all of the drama that is involved with all of this. And now it's gone because Tech leaned on Sorensby and said, dude, it's time to walk. You're done. This is over. Whether or not they were a part of Paxton doing the letter or not, they knew now they were in trouble from a legal standpoint because of the store that was now opened. And, I have to say, one of the angles that drives me crazy, and I don't tweet a lot, but I've tweeted on some of this, is all of the pearl clutching that's gone on in traditional media that says, this is crazy. The cardinal sin of sports is betting on your own sport. This cannot stand. And this media, this legacy media, cheering and goading and advising all of these schools to, cancel games with Texas Tech and ban them and punish them. When I didn't hear any of that. When we're talking about the integrity of the game only means whether or not people think that it's not rigged or not. The integrity of the game should mean something like you don't keep a defensive coordinator on your staff in order to win games because you think he's good at being a defensive coordinator, even though he's sexually abusing athletes and kids within your organization, and you cover up for him for decades. Nobody talked about, we should not play games with Penn State. We should wait until this works out. It should not be that there is decades of sexual assault happening at Ohio State and Michigan State, and nobody talks about, and Michigan, and nobody talks about, hey, we should boycott their organization until they stand up and make changes and pay the restitution to all these injured. You want to talk about integrity of the game, you have to accept that they covered it up because it was better for them on the field to do so. That's the only reason they would cover up these crimes. And they did it. So if you want to talk to me about integrity of the game, I don't want to hear it unless you could point to me an article that you posted that said they should boycott those institutions for that happening. I can't stand it. It's sickening to me that this is the cardinal sin, that he bet on his own school to win his game that he was not playing in. That's the integrity of the game. That's the cardinal sin. It's garbage.
Justin Watkins, Battleborn Injury Lawyers. Hey, Big 12's ready for a fight. They're ready to investigate. Let's go, Cincinnati. This is starting to heat up now. Agent for Sorsby. Hey, Cincy knew this kid had an issue. They knew. Cincy comes out today with a statement. Whoa. AD, we will reiterate what we have said before. All of our student athletes receive extensive gambling education multiple times throughout the year, and we would never knowingly play an athlete who violated NCAA sports wagering regulations. If we ever became aware of impermissible wagering, we would report to the NCAA and comply with sanctions.
Okay. Clearly drafted by a lawyer. What if you were innocent, if you really did not know that Sorensby was up to any of this, what would your statement say? We did not know that Brendan Sorsby was gambling on games. That's what you'd say. We didn't know it. That's not what they said.
Nope.
They talked in generalities. We would never, and we advise all of our student athletes. We would never knowingly. Did you suspect? Was an allegation brought to you and you didn't pursue it? I mean, that's what the reporting is. The reporting is you were well aware that there was a whole bunch of rumor and innuendo and specific allegations that he was gaming on Cincinnati games while at Cincinnati. And the only time that you even began to pursue any of it was after he declared for transfer. I mean, I've said it before, in all of this, if there is a white hat and a black hat, and please, college sports, there are no white hats and black hats. Not all the schools are doing whatever they can in order to win as much as they can. But in this specific situation, if there's a white hat and a black hat, Texas Tech is wearing the white hat. And I got no allegiance to Texas Tech. Like, I'm an Oregon State fan. It doesn't benefit me to argue for their sake at all. And Cincinnati's wearing the black hat. Texas Tech became aware, reported it right away, did an investigation, got the kid in for help, and then pursued the legal avenues that were available to them. We can't fault them for pursuing the legal avenues available to them. They got an order from a judge that says they could do it, and so they did. Right? Cincinnati, if the reporting is true, was aware of the insinuations or had specific knowledge of allegations, did not investigate, chose to play him anyway, buried their head in the sand, said, not our problem, not today. That's black hat stuff. And so from my perspective, I mean, I wish we were going to get some sort of finality to this that wasn't him going to the supplemental draft, but that's where we're at. And, I hope that there are more schools that will challenge the conventional wisdom and the way things have always been done in the NCAA, because you know what? I don't think it's ever been done correctly in the first place. And let's call it the hypocrisy for what it is.
I want to go to Cincy first, because from that statement, I think it's pretty clear they knew.
Yeah.
There was no, like you said, if they didn't know, it's a one-sentence press release. We did not know that Brendan Sorsby was betting on games. Period. End of story. And that was all mumbo jumbo nonsense that they put out there. And look, I am not a Scott Satterfield fan. I haven't been. When he left Louisville to go to Cincinnati, you know what the coach's coaching ability is, and sometimes you figure out what the character of that individual is when the fan base, when a guy leaves a program and that fan base is parading around in happiness, which that Louisville fan base was when Satterfield left for Cincinnati. It is ridiculous. I'm with you on the Cincinnati portion of this 100%. Now, from the Texas Tech point of view on my end, it's a little more complicated because there is such an issue right now. And this is why I think a lot of gamblers actually were up in arms with this more than a lot of even the old legacy media here, of gambling's under attack from every which way right now, especially sports gambling, because people are convinced this stuff is fixed. People are convinced there's so much problem, all that stuff. I think a lot of gamblers are like, you know what, the kid can't play because we need to at least shut the idiots up of, see, the game is fixed. He's been betting on a blah, blah, blah. He didn't play in any of the Indiana games. And a lot of people will just ignore that fact to make whatever narrative fit that they want. So look, I'm with you. It would have been fun to see all the measuring that would have gone on between the parties here throughout the next however month that Paxton had just not said anything. But
I have one question to that stance.
Go ahead.
Why does it matter to college sports what the gamblers think?
It doesn't.
It does now.
No.
It does now. It does.
So
why? Because they're in bed with them
money.
now.
It's the money.
Because now so this cardinal sin of college sports only exists because you are getting paid as a portion of what you do to be in bed with the gamblers. If It's not the integrity of the game. It's not. It's the finances of the game that is what this is all about. So save me the crocodile tears of integrity of the game. I will not hear it on this issue. It is only because you have welcomed that into your game, and now you're worried that your golden goose may not lay any more eggs if people don't believe in the integrity of the game. And so you want to pursue this all the way through and treat it as if it's worse than, I don't know, a institution that covers up for a murderer.
By the way, Baylor in both of the major sports.
Yes.
With death penalty-esque violations, and no one said they'd boycott playing them.
Nope.
But this, and as I've said a million times, especially middle America, I don't ever want to hear about Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame again.
Yeah.
If this is the worst thing ever, then Pete never gets in.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, right? It's the ultimate sin. And that's what we tried to tell you for years.
You watched
now because this player is the part of the enemy rogue program, we got like 10 seconds.
Go watch the Florida Gators documentary and you tell me about the integrity of the game.
Yeah. 40+ arrests and dalliances with police with Urban Meyer around. All right, Justin, thank you so much. 5 o'clock hour on the way.
Live from the Battleborn Broadcast Center, you're listening to ESPN Las Vegas.
Well, that was a lot of yelling, screaming, and passion. It is Cofield and Company, 5 o'clock hour, as we're going to start to dub this hour the most dangerous hour in all of sports talk radio. Right, James? James back on the board. James doesn't know if we're here or not. Fingers crossed, baby. A lot of danger. We walk the line. We walk the line. Let's get into the National Football League and lots of other stuff because Myles A. Simmons from Peacock and Pro Football Talk can speak on just about anything. Myles, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I didn't know it was going to be such a dangerous thing, me coming in here right now. So let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. We're going to talk about a gentleman's game, a ladies' game. Yeah, I didn't like that last week. I actually start with you on the other football, the World Cup, because I think you have some pretty intense interest. Jeff, fill us in on what you're doing tomorrow.
I am taking an early flight to Los Angeles. My wife and I are going to Switzerland and Bosnia and Herzegovina tomorrow at Los Angeles Stadium. Don't want to aggravate the exactly the FIFA folks. And then we're going to take the game in, and then about 6 hours after the game ends, we're going to fly back to Vegas.
Nice. That sounds great. That sounds a lot of fun. I mean, I don't necessarily want to know how much you paid for those tickets because I hope that it wasn't like one of these exorbitant prices that some people are paying right now.
I can tell you right now. I can tell you right now, Myles. This was a whole thing. We did this on the air probably a few months ago. I applied for 11 games. If I had won all the games, it would have been like $8,800. I did not win all the games. The only game I won was this one. And it was $500 a ticket.
Okay.
500,000, I'm on about the equivalent of the 40-yard line, and I'm in a section that begins with a C, so that works out for me. Yeah. No, those are. I mean, like, look for what it is, and the prices that people are paying. Like, that's a decent deal, right? I mean, like. Decent is relative to everything, but it's kind of a once in a lifetime event. It's one of the only times we'll ever see grass at SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles Stadium as it's being called right now. So, it's really cool. And it's one of those things you always get to say you were able to do. So no, that's awesome.
Myles, what have you enjoyed the most so far in the World Cup?
The USA kicking ass. Are you kidding me? That was awesome. I mean, I'm not like a very big soccer fan, but the World Cup is different. It's kind of like the Olympics in that I'll watch it when it's on, and I want to see the USA kick everybody's ass. And the fact that we did in that first game, it made me very happy. It was also great that it happened right here in my backyard at Los Angeles Stadium, whatever. And but it's been really cool, I think, to just see the different atmospheres in all the different places. I mean, Messi last night obviously was awesome as well. And my buddy who lives in Kansas City was actually at that game. and he sends a video, and I was like, what the hell is going on with the whiteout at Arrowhead? It looks very strange. And then you got like blue banners on the side, but like it's very cool to me to see how all these NFL stadiums have been transformed for this worldwide event. And then you also look on social media and you get like people from all over the world being like, wow, these stadiums are awesome, guys. Like, holy smokes, this is the best stadium I've ever seen. And it's freaking MetLife. And you're like, what in the world? Like, what are you guys dealing with over there?
You beat me to it, because one of the funniest things after, I guess it was Saturday and then again yesterday with the two games in East Rutherford and the international viewer, like, this place looks amazing. And I'm in the back of my head, I'm like, this is the most $1 billion that's ever been spent in New York, which is actually saying something, in all honesty.
No, it totally is. And like, look, MetLife is fine for a football game. I've covered several games there, been there, but like, it's not one of the world-class stadiums really that we have in this country. And it's funny because, I mean, if you look at all the different aspects of what's going on with the World Cup, you really shouldn't have the final at that stadium, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on. Like, it really should be here in Los Angeles. But I understand time zones in Europe and all this. But, like, come on. SoFi was built to host world-class events like that. And I think even though it's not the way the stadium is supposed to be configured, obviously, because you don't have the field and all this stuff, and then the grass is in there, like, it looks a little bit different. But it looks amazing on television to see this event here at that stadium. And I wish that's where the final were being played, but it's not.
Myles, I have to bring something up because it's on the rundown here, and it's something that I've texted my friends at least a minimum of 5 times about already in the week that this event's been going on. The main studio crew on Fox is hilarious to me with the dynamic of Thierry Henry, Zlatan, and Alexi Lalas, where Zlatan and Thierry are two of the best to ever do it, and then there's Wallace, and the two of them are just basically staring him down after every single thing he says. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Pretty much on every single thing Alexi has said the last week.
The funniest thing that we can say here that they can't say over there is wanker, right? Like, I mean, I didn't even know that was so bad. And then, like, Wallace says it, and then the three of them are like, "Oh my god!" And then they're like, "Everybody here's like, that's a bad thing," because they throw exactly, like, they throw some words around over there across the pond that like make me squirm, man. Like they're and we're on the radio.
By the way, I'll break in because I will do it carefully because I'm a professional. They use the C-bomb. Like I want to use.
Yes, that's what I was referring to.
It's unbelievable how much it's used.
I know.
Apparently, yeah,
like,
we're not supposed to be saying wanker.
Yeah. Like, and that, I'm like, okay, I didn't realize where the line was. I bet Wallace didn't realize where the line was there either. But now he's just he doesn't care. He's just a line stepper. And I loved how Zlatan yesterday after I don't remember what game it was. It was like people who are ignorant call it arrogance. It's really just confidence, when Wallace had just said that somebody was going around a little bit too arrogant. Like, oh my gosh. I don't know how they're going to continue that for another couple of weeks, but it's going to be fun.
Myles, first, take me behind the thought process here. Is this, because we could compare this to some booths and conversations and shows that are on American TV. Do you get the sense that Thierry Henry and Ibrahimovic are like, we were awesome, you're a clown, so you don't get to speak on our level? Or is he saying stuff that is really stupid? I'm talking about Wallace.
The latter. Yeah. I think it's more the latter. I think that they understand that, like, look, they're working for Fox, they're working for American television. There's going to be an American on the set, but it's the comments combined with, you don't know what you're talking about, with, oh, you weren't at our level as a player anyway. So, like, why in the world should we respect you? And then that's kind of the dynamic that plays out. I do wonder what it's like in the green room, because there are times where you get this dynamic on camera and then off camera, everybody's like buddy, and it's fine. But like, I don't know, because I don't know any of these people. So it's just very interesting to me to watch it play out in real time, where basically everybody online is like, yeah, Zlatan, get him, get him, Henri. Like, because we all agree, like, he sounds like a clown, but like, I don't know, maybe that works for what they're doing.
He's getting killed. Wallace is getting killed by lots of people out there. Okay. On the meter of outrageous statements, and I'm not even really sure why this guy was speaking about it, but I saw that Florio picked up on the fact that someone commenting on the UFC White House said that card had more viewers than the Super Bowl. Did you see this story? And the person who was quoted is a guy from the RNC, Joe Gruters, who said, I think more people watch UFC Freedom 250 than watch the Super Bowl. The numbers are out. And while UFC did a nice number, it's like upwards of like 6 million viewers on Paramount Plus, not the Super Bowl.
It's about 100 million more people watched the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I like, we were talking about this, at work today. Obviously, as you just pointed out, Florio covered it. You can read it at profootballtalk.com. But it's like, I don't understand why anybody would fix their mouths to say something that outrageously stupid. Like,
well, you know why, and this is. I mean, this kind of goes back to the whole thing that Dana White was trying to sort of create some space, and he's like, hey, this event is not political, but people.
Right.
I didn't never believe that, but people are going to grasp onto it, and then now it's like an us against them weird deal where the guy from the RNC is like defending UFC and ratings. And what are we doing here?
By the way, it's not just some guy from the RNC. He's legitimately the chairman for the RNC.
I guess that makes it worse. He should be what, next level informed?
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's ridiculous on its face, because every year we hear, oh my gosh, it was what, 90 million in what, 2012, and it's just been pretty much steadily going up. And I think this year it actually wasn't the highest ever, but it's still 98 plus million people watching this. So the fact that you're gonna I don't know why anybody would fix their mouths to say something like that when the Super Bowl is on free TV and this was pay-per-view because it's on Paramount Plus. So inherently, it's not going to be anywhere close. And nobody watches anything like they watch the NFL. So I don't know why we have to say these things. I guess we're placating one person, but at the same time, that person probably even knows that this is a ridiculous thing to say on its face. And just come on, man. Come on.
By the way, as a fight fan, I would love to see big CBS carry these cards, maybe 2 or 3 a year, and get monster numbers. Obviously, they're trying to build the whole thing, and they were trying to drive people to the pay service of Paramount Plus. And if the numbers can really be that big, and listen, they're not going to get 125 million. Or I think Marco Rubio said he thought 1 billion people would be watching around the world. Again, that would outpace just about everything that's ever been on TV, including, I think, the World Cup might have done 1 billion a couple of years ago. But it's interesting once you start comparing stuff to the NFL, you're getting in crazy territory. Myles Simmons, Peacock, and Pro Football Talk is with us. All right. So last hour, we're really getting kind of worked up about the college football end of the Brendan Sorsby story. Now there's the NFL end of it. First of all, could the NFL just block this whole thing? You know what? We're not cool with you. There is no supplemental draft, brother.
He does have to apply for the supplemental draft. And so that's one of the steps that I think that sometimes people are skipping past. And yes, I think it's a very low chance that the NFL would block Brendan Sorsby from entrance into the NFL via the supplemental draft. I think it's low, but it's not zero, right? And whenever you're dealing with the NFL and there is an approval process, you have to go down the scenario path of, hey, what if this does not happen? Again, I don't think that that's what's going to happen here. I would be very surprised if that were to happen. However, is there a chance that it happens? Yes, there is, because the NFL has that right. And they could say, in theory, hey, you knew that you were about to lose your college eligibility, and you knew that in time to apply for the NFL draft in 2026, right? And in theory, he did. So that's one argument that they could use to say, no, you're not eligible for this in 2026. I just don't really see that happening, just based on the way this has gone. The other aspect of this, if they do approve of Sorsby, coming into the league and he gets drafted, and or if he doesn't get drafted, subsequently signed, then what would maybe be the case is he could get suspended on the way in, right? I mean, we sort of saw that with Terrell Pryor. There have been sanctions for other different coaches and things like that. So I think that there's a possibility of both of those things happening. I think a suspension on the way in for the gambling is probably likelier than him not getting the eligibility granted for the supplemental draft, though.
Would you take him?
No, I would not take a quarterback with a gambling problem. I mean, I just wouldn't. I'm unless I am in a situation where maybe I'm the Buffalo Bills or I am the Cincinnati Bengals and I have a quarterback and I'm drafting a backup because I don't look I don't mean to do the degrees of badness here, but like this is what this is. If you are a gambling addict and you place bets that hurt or call into question, I should say, the integrity of the game, if you could get suspended for a very long time and or banned, right? And this is, I think, maybe a little bit unfair, but there's a difference between this on the risk assessment and even a player who has committed a heinous crime, because the crime is not going to potentially pop up and recur again, right? I mean, there's a punishment for it, and usually it's under the personal conduct policy, and it's somewhere in the ballpark of 4 to 8 games, right? I mean, I'm making blanket statements, but go with me here. I'm ballparking. If you're betting and you get caught, and you're betting on your team, which is something we know that he's done, he's admitted to, then you are gonna get suspended for a very, very, very long time, if not banned. I don't think that there is any reason. If I'm an NFL owner and you bring this to me as my general manager, I'm gonna tell you, why in the world should we be doing this when the risk is so high that he might not even play? I mean, what are we doing? So it's not like this is somebody who's a consensus first round talent either, because if he were, then why would he have gone back to school at Texas Tech instead of just going to the NFL after being in Cincinnati for a couple of years? So for my risk assessment, it's not worth it. I hope the young man proves me wrong, right? Like, I hope he goes in the league and never has another issue with this ever again, and he becomes a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro. I really do. But in my risk assessment, no, it's not worth it. Why would I do this unless I have an extremely stable quarterback situation?
I'm kind of I would use a third or a fourth in this system. Now, it's so interesting because a lot of people have linked the Jets and the Dolphins and the Cardinals and Cleveland. I think those are the worst possible scenarios if you're going to do this. I'm in your camp where it's like, all right, either very stable quarterback situation where you're, like you said, backup, or stable organizations. Those 4 teams that seem to be being thrown around the most are unstable quarterback situations and not the most stable organizations either. Like the most fascinating one, and I forget who I saw say this yesterday, and I agree with him, and I apologize to whoever that is out there. The Vikings are an interesting one, right? Like, they have a very strong organization. Yeah, I understand there's a question with O'Connell's contract situation coming up, but you have a quarterback who's clearly going to be the starter this year in Kyler Murray. You have McCarthy's going to be there as a backup. Sorsby's not going to have to play this year at all. And you know what? If it turns into a Sorsby versus McCarthy battle next year, if Kyler doesn't pan out, then so be it. That would be the one that makes the most sense with a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I wouldn't go higher than a 4. I wouldn't use a day 2 pick on this guy, and just because of the risk assessment. But I hadn't heard anybody really talk about the Vikings as a possibility yet, but I actually think that makes a lot of sense as well. I mean, another team that kind of comes to mind is the Bucks. They're a little bit less stable on the organizational side, just given, look, I mean, this is a do it or don't do it kind of year, I think, for Todd Bowles. And also you have the situation with Baker Mayfield, where right now they seem to be pretty far apart on contract talks. But frankly, I think that they're going to get that done within the next few weeks or sometime before training camp. It's just, I think it behooves both sides to come together and figure that out. But those are the kinds of teams where you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, you have somebody, but maybe. And it's not like we're talking about this year's Sorsby needing to play. It's a year where he can get acclimated to the NFL, And if he does have a relapse, then, okay, that's all right. We're not counting on him, to be a starting caliber quarterback for us right away. So yeah, I think that those are two teams that maybe are a little bit out of the box, but could make sense from like the fourth round on.
Myles, are you happy with the Knicks winning the championship?
I was. Why not? Yeah, sure. I mean, I spent 4 years in New York going to college. I mean, like, New York is an awesome place. The Knicks were a great team. I was disappointed in the way that the Spurs kind of collapsed over the course of that series in the fourth quarters. I mean, you got to put Wemby on a milk carton in the fourth quarter for some of these games because, like, he just totally went missing. But I think that it showed a lot, just the tenacity of the Knicks and the attitude of the Knicks and the greatness of Jalen Brunson, that they were able to get that done in the manner that they were. The favorite thing, though, is that Brunson is on the, inside the NBA desk after they win, and he's with his dad, and his dad is still like, hey, no, he's not like the most close.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? It's your son. These old heads, they can't get 90s Jordan out of their heads. They just can't do it. It's funny.
Tough love. Biggest villain out of the NBA Finals, Wemby or Knicks fans?
Oh, I definitely think it's Wemby. Why would it be Knicks fans? They hadn't been able to celebrate a championship, since 1973.
Can they
What's
celebrate
wrong with
without
that?
acting like animals? Calm down, everybody,
No.
please.
No. Animals. What about Philly? I mean, come on, they weren't as bad as Philly.
We're not
Please.
doing whataboutism here. No, we're not doing whataboutism. We understand that Boston, Philly, and New York are completely out of control. In the focus right now are New York fans. Here, I guess I'll extend fans to New York media because they've really been insufferable the last couple of days.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, obviously, the New York media is going to continue to be insufferable. I'll give you that. I'll give you New York media is more insufferable than Knicks fans in general. But I'm happy. But I'm happy for Knicks fans. I thought it was fun. I thought it was great, and I think it's better for the NBA when the Knicks are good.
Is LeBron coming back to LA? Is he going to Cleveland? Will he join up with Wemby?
I think it's either LA or Cleveland. I know that Golden State is apparently going to push for him, but I just I can't take off my Cavs colored glasses, but I still really hope he's going to come home. Come on, LeBron, just one more ride at home, baby. Come on, you can do it. Just give me a little, It's the East. We can come out of the East. We can beat the Knicks if we've got you on our squad. Let's go, LeBron. I know he's overseas right now having a reunion for the 10-year anniversary of the Cavs winning the championship, which was honestly one of the greatest sports moments of my life. So, yeah, come home, LeBron. Just do it.
Myles, good job, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you.
All right, take care, guys.
There he is. Myles Simmons. It was nice enough to come on with us on Wednesdays throughout the year at 5 o'clock. Up next, we go to the official LA report, get a lot more on the World Cup because he was at one of the games the other day. We'll find out more about LeBron. There was a reason, a method to the madness about LeBron and where he's going to land. We'll talk to Arash Markazi from the Sporting Tribune.
It's Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas.
Here, two of them right now with James, 364-1100, 364-1100, caller 7. Again, you can get tickets for this game at LV Ballpark on June 27th, Ticketmaster.com. James, update. We will be contacting Arash Markazi, who's coming up here in less than 5 minutes via the phone. Things change, so via the phone, Arash will be joining us. Well, let's jump off on the LeBron point. Because while we keep hearing rumors that, hey, he doesn't want to leave L.A., what does he want to do? Because I think the move is for the Spurs to bring him in and help this entire group mature. LeBron kind of admitted it that this year was a learning experience, and he understands that he's not always going to be the number one option. I think he would be perfect. You wouldn't have to break up the Spurs team. If you want to go and make the blockbuster move and go get Giannis, you're going to have to trade some good young pieces. Bring in LeBron for a year or two. Wemby grows up. And for LeBron, dude, that's the most attractive situation, unless you are absolutely tethered to being home in LA.
I will be completely honest with you. I didn't even think of that as an option until you brought it up in the last segment.
There's no cost.
There is no downside of it for San Antonio. Now, with LeBron, there's a few things. Would LeBron want to live in Texas? would he want to live in San Antonio?
I mean, it's temporary. Come on.
I know, but you're still there for the majority of the year. Does he really want to leave Los Angeles at all? Look, from a basketball perspective, he should leave the Lakers. I don't even think there's a doubt.
I don't know that at this money that he would command that the Lakers want him around.
I don't know. I don't think from a basketball perspective, I don't think either side should want each other at this point. Personally, the Warriors are interesting because I would be curious. Like again, the Warriors. Can we say the Warriors kind of fell into that title a few years ago by accident? Like the post dynasty title was an accident. Because they've done a horrible job, other than that 1 year, building the team correctly around Steph. And I wonder if they just go a little bit over the top on paying LeBron a little more than others would to make sure that, all right, maybe you give yourself a little bit of a better shot.
Let's bring in Mr. LA, Sporting Tribune. Arash Markazi, CEO of the Sporting Tribune, is here with Jeff and Cofield. Arash, what's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you guys?
I know this is one of the hot topics. We're good, Arash. I know this is one of the hot topics. You're going to be hitting a lot on Sporting Trib today, your radio show, your live radio show. Where are you guys right now as a group? More importantly, I don't care what the rest of the group has to say. Where are you right now on LeBron? Is LeBron going to stay, or should he go out and ring hunt, which I have no problem with, and should he go join an organization that has a legit shot with his addition to win a title?
Yeah, with me, I do want LeBron back. I mean, while he's playing like one of the top 10 players in the world, I do think a lot of my colleagues, I would dare say the majority of my colleagues want him gone. They just are tired of the dramatics. They're tired of LeBron being LeBron. They don't want him here. They don't think he really adds as much to the team as I do. And again, the reason that I say that, I mean, when LeBron adopted or at least embraced his role of being a quasi role player, again, just the third option. And by the way, he did not really talk about that until the end of the season when he said what an adjustment that was for him. It was, but that's what made that team, in my view, one of the top 5 teams in the league when he adjusted to that. If he's gone and they don't really replace him with another top 25 player, I don't think the Lakers have improved.
Arash Markazi is with us. Okay, I mean, let's try to jump into the mind of LeBron. If the Lakers basically rebuff him and, say, hey, we'll keep you if you're going to make, a third of the money you make, what's the situation you want to go to? Jeff mentioned Golden State. I hate that situation for LeBron. I like San Antonio. Hell, I like OKC. I like Cleveland. Where would you recommend LeBron goes to try to win the ring?
Here's the funny thing about it. As the conference final started in the East, what I said was, I think it makes a ton of sense for him to go to the team that loses that conference finals, because at least that's a team that is, maybe a piece away. And you could go to a team that at least gives you a legitimate chance to get you to the finals. Now, of course, that means I think he should go to Cleveland. I don't know if that's the right move for him, but I agree with you, Steve. I don't think the Warriors move the needle for him at all, in the sense of, do you want to finish off your last year competing for a championship? I don't think the Warriors do that for him. That is not a playoff team. So, with LeBron there, maybe they're a team that loses in the first round. Maybe if they go on a heck of a run and they play above what we think, maybe they lose in the second round. So I think the pathway for him, at least in terms of being another piece that can help Cleveland get back to the finals, I think that's the move there. And again, of course, it's a storybook kind of finale to his career, but I actually think that makes the most sense to him.
Arash, I'm sure you saw the numbers for the NBA Finals. Averaged just under 21 million viewers a game, was the highest number since 1998. The final of the second three-peat for MJ and the Bulls going against the Jazz. The final game, 25 million and 33 million at the peak. What do the Knicks do for the NBA in winning the title? How big is it for the league?
Well, because it's a couple of things. Yes, it's New York. It's a big market, but it's also a fan base that I really think the rest of the league saw, and we've known this for quite some time, but really, the way that those fans overtook road stadiums, whether it's Philadelphia, whether it's Cleveland, whether it was San Antonio, I mean, that is a huge draw. And you got, like, and again, they're not the Cubs, but whenever you have a signature franchise like that that's trying to win their first title in 50-plus years, I think that's when the rest of the country starts to watch, too. They're intrigued by it. I mean, you had two, like, very unique situations. You had the Spurs, but it was like Victor Wembanyama, and is he the future face of the league? Is he the next guy going up against the Knicks? It's New York. It's Madison Square Garden. And the other thing is, like, if you're a casual, I don't know what number percentage this is, but, like, Taylor Swift is courtside, and Ben Stiller, and, like Timothy Chalamet. Like, that stuff actually does account for something. I'm not saying it's a big percentage, but they had the Q factor. Like any casual was watching for sure.
Arash, give me the recap of being in the building for the Stanley Cup Finals in Vegas.
You know what? It was one. I turned to Steve Carp before the game, and I'm like, Carpy, this reminds me of 2018, I think it was, when they lost to Washington, where the road team could feel it. Like that. And, like, I don't want to say it was half Carolina fans, but it was a lot more Carolina fans than there were than we saw in games 3 and 4. They were extremely loud. They were there to see their team win. And at no point, and this was the sad thing about it, at no point during that game did Vegas push back. Like, it wasn't like they tied the game or they took a lead at some point. That was not close. It was a game that was Carolina from the beginning to the end. And then Carp was the first one to tell me, like, that's the end for Torts. I mean, like, I think if you were around that team, you had a feeling that he was brought in for this one run, and unless they won the cup, like, that was it. Like he was brought in for the sole purpose of trying to turn this team around, but he was not going to come back.
Arash Markazi is with us. Yeah, Ryan Craig bumped up from Henderson was the head coach in waiting. Now he's the head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Okay, let's talk some World Cup. First of all, on the coverage. We saw the story yesterday from Front Office Sports saying that there are some Fox officials mad at ESPN because ESPN isn't giving enough coverage to the World Cup. Fox is now fired back and said, that's not true. We're not mad. What do you make of the coverage, and how big is ESPN in this whole thing? Why would Fox care if ESPN covers it or not?
I really thought that was such a non-story. I mean, first of all, you are restricted from even broadcasting like 30-second highlights. While Fox is showing a World Cup games, ESPN cannot show highlights of a game that happened, for example, like at 12 noon. So if you're watching TV and they're showing pictures of the game, there's a reason why. Like, they do not have the ability to show highlights. That said, their website, like ESPN.com, has done a tremendous job of covering the World Cup. I mean, they have reporters at basically like all the sites. They had like at least 6 people that I know of in Los Angeles. So they really covered it as best as they possibly could. I had a number of folks reach out to me saying, like, this is absurd. Like, look at Fox Sports' website. Like, they don't even cover the non-league partners. And you go on their website, there's nothing about the NBA. There's nothing about WNBA, the NHL. So I thought it was a non-story.
Arash, I will be at the game tomorrow at down there at SoFi, Los Angeles Stadium. So
LA Stadium.
Sorry, excuse me. I
don't want to run afoul of
I don't want to get banned from the building. But Arash, just how has the environment been? Well, I know it's been unique because Team USA was there on Friday, and then as you told us in the lead up to this, Iran, which has the largest. LA is the largest Iranian population in the United States. Those environments for those 2 games have looked absolutely outstanding there so far.
Yeah, I am so excited for you to see it because I told someone at SoFi that I don't think like any stadium so far has benefited more from just the way the stadium looks than SoFi. The natural grass surface looks amazing. The light coming in from that translucent roof looks amazing. It'll be the first 12 noon game, so it'll be a little bit hotter. But I mean, like SoFi has really looked tremendous, and the number one response from a ton of people has been like, I cannot believe this building is not holding the championship game. Again, that'll be at MetLife in New Jersey, but they've really done a tremendous job. Where the fans come into, you're going to pass by the lake. Just SoFi, and again, the fact of the matter is, and they told people this when they've asked me to compare it to Las Vegas, and I said, Allegiant's amazing. One stadium was built for $2 billion, the other was built for $5 billion. Like, and you can tell when you walk in, it is unlike any other stadium in the world. It's not really a roof; it's sort of like a covering. So you could feel the breeze, you could feel the wind, you could feel the heat and the sun. It's going to be fantastic. I'm excited for you to see it. What I've told people is, I know ticket prices are crazy, but I mean, just the ability to see a World Cup game in your backyard in Los Angeles, like on the West Coast, if you have the ability, do it. We have a couple of more games out here. It is fantastic.
Yes or no question here for you, Arash. Do I need to bring sunscreen tomorrow?
Yes, because it's going to be a long walk. Like even if you get dropped off with like a Lyft or like an Uber or like the one thing that I've told people, it is not like curbside service there. So yes, bring some sunscreen.
Arash, on Team Iran, I saw your tweets and showing the bus and everything. Can you talk exactly what they're going through in terms of logistics, where they're staying, how quickly they have to get out of the United States, what a challenge this is, and if they've talked about it?
Yeah, so for the majority of the teams, again, they have camps that are not where they're playing. So generally speaking, a lot of teams get in 2 days the day before a game. And once they're done playing a game, especially if the game is at night, they get to stay there, and then they fly back to their camp. With Iran, and this was something, by the way, that was conveyed to them beforehand. I know why they're upset about it, but this was not a surprise. But they get in the day before, like almost like the night before. So, for example, when they play the game on Sunday, they will get into Los Angeles on Saturday. They'll have a practice Saturday evening, press conference, and then they get to stay here the night. Once the game is over, they have to leave. They got to go back to Tijuana. That's their base camp. So talking to players post-game, they're like, we don't understand why we just can't stay here the night and then go back tomorrow. Like, we're tired. We don't want to get on the bus and go back to Tijuana. So they're upset about it. I don't know if anything will be changed prior to the next game on Sunday, which is in Los Angeles, but they were not happy about it.
By the way, we detailed, and you talked about Iran at the beginning of the Israel and U.S. attack and the war that ensued, and you talked about the regime there, and there's not everyone's in support of the regime, not at all. I'm going to make a joke here. Since Iran seemed to get everything it wanted in whatever this agreement is, how about part of the agreement is we send them $299 billion instead of $300, and the supreme leader of Iran says, let the soccer team stay in the freaking United States.
Yeah.
I know there are bigger things. There are bigger fish to fry. Put that in the negotiation. You won. Make sure your team gets to freaking compete on an even level.
By the way, so they stayed in Manhattan Beach, which is sort of like the if you want to have like another joke about this, because by the way, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, whether they leave the night of the game or the next day, like it really isn't that big. But the joke one of the staff members made to me was, they stayed in Manhattan Beach, guys. It's like, I understand if you're supposed to stay in Manhattan Beach only for one night and you want to make it 2 nights, like, I get that. So they're going to be back at that same hotel again, back in Manhattan Beach. So, yeah.
So let's we're not breaking a story here, but I think we're probably some of the first people to actually talk about a big event that potentially could come to Vegas. I think LA is a long shot. And that is the steam building around Tyson Fury. First of all, he was at the White House. There was a reason he was there. Dana White said there's going to be an announcement soon. Now the thought is that Dana White, with the money of Turki Al-Sheikh, could be the guys putting on Anthony Joshua and Fury. And the rumor is the fight could land in Vegas. That fight, I would think, unless Dana White wins the battle, because I think he'd want it at the arena, not the stadium. That could be another stadium match. I have not looked at the Raiders schedule. I looked at UNLV's schedule. UNLV plays on November 7th. They're out of town on the 14th and the 21st. The fight was targeted for November. What do you think of the, arguably the biggest heavyweight fight in the world on the boxing side, again being in Vegas at Allegiant?
See, we've touched on this. This is why I loved Vegas back in the day, and this is why I still love Vegas to this day. It is the fight capital of the world, and no disrespect to, when they have these fights, like overseas. But there's nothing like a big fight weekend in Vegas. And while I want it to be at the arena, I do think a fight of that magnitude will probably be at Allegiant. They know how to host it there now at this point. I'm not saying it's perfect, but when you have a fight of that magnitude, and again, you could only have a couple fights that are of that magnitude. In fact, like now that I'm thinking about it, that's like the last great one. And again, I could be wrong, but when you talk about casuals, you don't even have to be a boxing fan to be like, oh my God, I'm stopping what I'm doing and I'm going to watch that fight. That's going to be at Allegiant. But just the fight week, there's nothing like a big fight week in Vegas. And that was the case when you had Canelo Crawford, and going back to Mayweather and McGregor. That might have been a show, but that was quintessential Vegas fight week, and I just love that.
Arash, we appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
It's just starting to heat up now with Fury and Joshua. I think most boxing people are like, wait a second, you're not going to have it at Wembley, a massive stadium in their country? There's a clause for the Joshua side that actually says it has to be in the UK, but that can be negotiated. I mean, it sort of makes sense. If Dana White is going to win this war against Eddie Hearn, who wants the fight, and he's got as I called it yesterday, I'll call it again. When Eddie Hearn played with Dana White, Dana has the FU money in his back pocket of Turki Al-Sheikh. Turki Al-Sheikh is the one who I think behind the scenes was like Allegiant Stadium. Vegas. Looking at November when the fight is proposed, the dates are pretty interesting. I'll give you an update on what's going on football-wise. I mentioned UNLV's schedule. I think there would be a target date that's pretty obvious that might be the one date that would work for Joshua Fury in November.
Cofield and Company presents Grab Bag on ESPN Las Vegas.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
All right, closing out with a little baseball. But before we do that, we were just talking about rumors out there, and boxing rumors are not to be believed, honestly. There's not a lot of good sourcing, and unfortunately, a lot of the old guard media just kind of walked away from the sport. Reports out there that Anthony Joshua and Fury, the new target location for this big heavyweight clash, could be Vegas. And it kind of makes sense. If Dana White's getting into this promotion and he's got Turki Al-Sheikh money, they may want the fight here. More importantly, Turki Al-Sheikh may want the fight here. I don't think that's an arena fight. That is a stadium fight, but I'm guessing that Dana White will fight that. He's not a fan of the stadium fight. The stadium is available if you take out UNLV home games and Raiders home games on the 21st of November. That's the one date that works. They're out of town. The Raiders are on November 28th weekend, but that's Thanksgiving weekend. UNLV has a game, one of their games of the year against Nevada. So I don't know if that works. I don't know if they would push UNLV off a November 7th date. I think the Raiders are out of town. Are the Raiders out of town 3 of the 4 weeks? Is that right? In November?
It's 2 road and a bye.
Yeah, at San Fran on November 8th. Home, Seattle, at Denver, at Cleveland. And then December 6th is a bye. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's not in November. Be a hell of an event here in Vegas.
Be pretty good.
As much.
And as good as Bud and Canelo was at Allegiant, I would imagine that fight would. Again, I was more excited for that from the boxing perspective of it, but
it's a bigger, better promotion from the standpoint. The match isn't as good,
right?
But Fury by himself is such
100%.
And they're heavyweights.
Oh no, look from
Canelo and Crawford just added nothing in terms of
from a promotional perspective. 100% agree. From the boxing, and it is what it is. Oh, granted, the only live boxing match I've seen in this town was Tyson Fury, 2019. Whoever it was, the Swedish guy who he beat in round 2. That's the only card I've ever been to. So I'll have to change that. I'll have to change that in November.
You probably want to go to this one.
I'll have to change that in November.
Back in the bag.
Stick your hand in there, Dave.
Dodgers win today 5-4. Little odd. Ohtani didn't shut down Tampa, gave up 4 runs in 6 innings, got the win. He's 7-2 now, but he also came in later in the game as a pinch hitter.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yes. He's 2 different players.
A little bit bizarre, a little bit different, but hey, that's the nature of what you can do now, right, Cofield?
The A's play tonight after the bullpen fell apart again yesterday. Tonight is Savale back off injury and Ashcraft. That goes at 6:40. A's are a slight dog. Update in the final minute about our bet that we made about a month ago when you said Atlanta has the NL East cinched up. You gave me the Mets and the Phillies at like 2-1, right? Something like that? 3-1?
3-1.
3-1. See, I would have screwed it up. Phillies have fought back. They're good, but the Braves have been pretty damn good. But my one prediction with the Braves was worrying about injuries. And Strider went down yesterday. Acuna went down last week.
That's the one concern.
So
Still
what's the gap now?
7 up. 7 up.
With 90 games
90
left.
to go.
And I got to win the division from the Mets or the Phillies.
Yeah, you're not winning from the Mets who are 14.
Every time the Mets make a little progress and then
they lose 4 out of 6.
Run into a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Not the buzzsaw you expect.
By the way, Mets have a better run differential than the Phillies do, by the way.
Wow. See, I was right. All right, thanks to Battleborn Injury Alerts for hosting the show. Thanks to all of our guests. Great job. Thanks to James back in studio at the Findlay Toyota Studios. Look for all of our videos and post-show social media all night, all morning on socials.